Writing is hard, and endings can be even harder. This becomes especially true in long-spanning sagas like the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the stories that make the franchise juggernaut what it is. The Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy has always had the weight of the cosmos on its shoulders, what with ushering in the galactic chapters of the MCU, and holding within it not just the Power Stone, but Thanos' key to the Soul Stone as well. Rest in peace, Gamora 1.0. But the real trick to these stories, the secret sauce that has made the Guardians of the Galaxy films stand out over the years, is James Gunn's understanding that without the small moments, the big ones just don't matter. The Guardians have always had huge roles to play. It's always save the galaxy this, save the galaxy that, and never, hey, are you little broken idiots okay? Except that last bit isn't really true, is it? That, hey, are you little broken idiots okay, is so small in the grand scheme of things. It's a minute, tiny detail in a galaxy full of threats and hurdles. But it's also the most critical part of the story, especially in this final chapter. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 ends happily. And when I say happily, I mean huge grin on your face even though you just watched 2+ hours of animal torture happily. But, and I say this as somebody who had to look away in several parts of the movie and may or may not have ugly cried a few times, that happy ending succeeds as well as it does because it is earned. Happiness itself isn't something that people should have to sacrifice to achieve, but so far as narrative success goes, that earned part is important.
Hey, you know what? There's another name you might know me by. Star-Lord.
Each member of the Guardians leaves the trilogy with what they needed most. Peter Quill stops tripping over himself trying to pretend that Gamora is the woman he fell in love with, and stops running from his past to spend the remainder of his grandfather's living days on Earth. And he should probably stay there, despite the post-credits scene insisting that the legendary Star-Lord will return.
I'm gonna die surrounded by the biggest idiots in the galaxy.
Meanwhile, Gunn goes out of his way to showcase that this version of Gamora is fulfilled and happy with her Ravager family, never choosing to have her slip back into the characteristics of Gamora 1.0 that differentiate the two. She is allowed to remain as savage and untamed as she chooses to be without sacrificing the occasional moments of caring that shows that both Gamoras are made up of the same core, even if their circumstances made them different and equally remarkable warrior women.
You don't have to believe in yourself, because I believe in you.
Drax has the most cleanly circular story. The core motivation of the character is the loss of his family, and he closes out his journey as a father figure to a whole army of children. His arc would have been just as clean if he had died getting them safely to nowhere, something I was absolutely certain was going to happen, but it would have been the easy way out. Even worse, dying is obvious. But you know what they say about to live being an awfully big adventure. Gunn's insistence that these characters get to live out the rest of their days getting what they've always needed is something that some will call twee, but in the context of the saga that has always had so many mean blows, it's the most fitting end to create a well-rounded story across each member of the team.
I am Mantis.
Parallel to Drax, Mantis finally gets her own future and her own story that's tied to and serves no one but her own needs and wants after serving Ego and then carrying the Guardian's emotional baggage. These two make such a fun contrast to one another, with each playing the other's almost polar opposite. Upon losing his family, Drax became what was basically an entirely selfish being, something we see illustrated quite frequently throughout the trilogy, but the strongest example hits in the first Guardians of the Galaxy when he puts all of Nowhere at risk and nearly gets the team killed by calling Ronan to their doorstep. On the flip side, Mantis' function has only been to serve, or to be Drax and Nebula's proverbial punching bag. Getting to see her go off on her own, albeit with her new Obelisk friends, and find out who she is without taking care of the emotions of everyone around her, ends up being yet another joy in Volume 3.
He called me vermin! She called me rodent! Let's see if you can laugh after 5 or 6 good shots to your friggin'
By now, everyone knows that this has been Rocket's story all along. He gets his closure along with the rest, stepping into his leadership role and becoming the protector he felt like he failed to be to his last family. Even his long-awaited acceptance that he is, in fact, a raccoon, signifies a huge moment for the character as he learns to love himself as who he is, rather than who he believes he was created to be. Because this is Rocket's story, we also see small, non-final but still pertinent moments sprinkled throughout the film, mostly in the development of his relationship with Floor, Teefs, and Lila. But the most impactful moments here in this wonderfully warm ending are with Nebula and Groot, though Groot is more by way of the audience.
I will hunt my father like a dog and I will tear him apart slowly.
Nebula's story mirrors Rocket's, but in a way that is both more intimate and broad at the same time. Both have similarly devastating backstories, kidnapped from their families to be ripped apart and then turned into something new by a tyrant who hoped to exploit them for their own means, and both stepped into their next chapters in a way that best fits their respective stories. Rocket became a leader to protect the wider galaxy, but with a smaller scale team, while Nebula chose to rebuild a single planet to ensure any child who comes to it is safe and defended. Becoming the type of person that you need when you were younger is such a powerful story device, one that hits particularly hard for those who came from broken homes and didn't have the safety or protection that they may have needed in their formative years. Seeing the often cold, cranky Nebula trust the Guardians enough to show this side of herself is impactful on its own, but Gunn's decision to highlight this part of the character drives home Volume 3's understanding of the emotional weight of these tiny moments. The galaxy doesn't care if Nebula's heart grew 3 sizes that day, but we do. I'm not as hard on Phase 4 as others, particularly with so many of its television offerings being as strong as they are. But there are certainly a few Marvel films that could stand to learn that lesson. Groot's small but secretly huge moment is more of something for us, the audience, than it is for him. The film makes sure to make it clear that this iteration of Gamora can't understand what he's saying throughout their misadventures. But she finally hears more than "I am Groot" towards the end of Volume 3 once she becomes more of a part of their weird little family. We're not quite sure what he said to her, but can infer in the same way that we've been inferring what Groot says since Volume 1. But shortly after, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 shows us that the audience won't have to infer anymore. A scene or so later after the initial Gamora moment, Groot smiles and says, "I love you guys." And I gotta be honest, I haven't shut up about the 1-2 punch of this in the aforementioned Gamora scene since walking out of our screening. This beat is so clever. It's not just a culmination of 3 films worth of wondering what hilarious, lewd, or insistent things the lovable creature is saying to the rest of the team. It's an impeccable send-off filled with so much love that it could make your heart burst. In this final outing of the MCU, James Gunn used Groot, the one who has always had the strongest grip on our hearts, to say to the audience, "You will always be part of this, you are loved." 3 volumes, 2 Avengers, 1 Thor Love and Thunder, and a holiday special later, and all of the universe saving, or for Peter Quill's part, sometimes universe devastating, comes in second place to the biggest idiots in the galaxy finding their family, becoming a father again, building what they needed when they were younger, and reminding us that we are loved. Here's hoping that future MCU films remember the small in ways that can be as powerful as Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Because damn what an impact this trilogy had. DC is pretty damn lucky to have Gunn as the head of the ship, and we can't wait to see what he does next. For more Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, be sure to check out our video breaking down just who that new Guardian is, and the Guardians of the Galaxy cast and crew reacting to IGN comments, which gets weird, I assure you. And for everything else, stick with IGN.